Hello everybody, welcome back to another Sims 4 speed build, and today we are hopping into Cordelia's secret cottage. I want to completely, not reno, but just redo this entire lot. I love the lot. I like the vibes that we get from this lot, but I just want to go through, maybe try and set up a different layout. I feel like for the most part I kept the same layout, kept the walls, but I did change a few things around, and I just wanted to remodel it. I thought just by going in, changing the color, and making it more like up to date, but keeping with the more grandma chic type vibe, I guess you could say, or just the older style, almost like it has clutter but it's not hoarding. I wanted that type look. So on the outside I am just redoing how it looks. I really love using a little bit of rock, but also of course having like the vinyl look siding. I don't in real life like the vinyl look, but for on the Sims I do like how this looks. So I wanted to kind of match a little bit of the blue, or semi-match, to both the back barn for the cows and llamas, and then also the chicken coop. And then you already know, if you've been here to my channel, I love wood, so of course I had to match all the wood. For the most part, I was just playing around with the windows and the doors and trying to figure out what I did or did not like. And I really like these shutters and some of the windows that came with, and I feel like I don't use them very often. Maybe when I first downloaded the pack and every once in a while, but most of the time I use CC windows. So I was kind of challenging myself to not necessarily use as much CC, and I know I probably still used a bunch. Another thing I did want to keep is also this roof. I don't like the thatched roof or this style. I don't like how it necessarily looks, but I love the little foxes and stuff running across it. So I did keep that. I did kind of hide my little trash can unit, and I just put a simple fence around it. And then of course we're doing a little cute flower bed. I'm trying to get a little bit better with landscaping, and here recently I just downloaded a lot from somebody and I was using it in my normal playthrough. I really love the way that they did their lot. So I want to get actually better with also doing more terrain leveling, and or like going down in the ground or making little small hills. But I also know how sometimes the plants don't sit right, and I can't manipulate them to actually sit the way that I want them. So I want to get better at definitely decorating and how I do the flowers and just random things like that. I do like how this turned out. I think both of the flower beds look really good, and don't mind the color of the rocks. Eventually I change all the rocks to somewhat match each other, but right now I just am going around making a little flower bed, but it's rocked in, and then I do believe I put a tree in here. I wanted it to be kind of simple, but it's like its own flower bed. And I love these flowers from, I think it's like a garden kit. I don't remember fully, but I love how they look. And also with this brick, I just love the way that the brick looks. However, I did have to do a lot of landscaping, re-landscaping, moving things around, and deleting some old pavers and stuff that were already there. I don't know why, but this brick is probably my favorite, especially since we have matching terrain paint to the actual tiles. So here I am just fixing what I messed up, and then I got the idea, why don't we put one more garden space in here and also make it fenced in to where we can actually just come in here throughout the gameplay if I were to actually play over here. All right, stepping inside the house, of course, I'm deleting everything. Like I said in the beginning, I thought about redoing this layout, but I think at the end, I just kind of kept a very similar layout with the walls. I do change a few things around, like the door to the bathroom is not in the kitchen, and I kind of changed the kitchen a little bit, but I'm starting fresh. I had a lot of different things I was trying to test out in my head. I just wasn't that happy with how I was trying to figure things out. At first, I wanted a whole dining room section, and then I wanted a kitchen added on, and then a separate living room, but I felt like there wasn't enough space for all of the separate rooms. So in the end, I kind of stuck with the dining room being a small little section in the kitchen, almost like a kitchenette. So you will see this wall change a few times. Once I got happy with the actual layout, then I started going through with the floors, and like I said, I was trying not to use as much CC. I know I probably still use some. I wanted this to kind of be more realistic to if you wanted to download it or if I were to play in it. And some of the CC, if I deleted it later on, I could still play with it. And I was just messing around with all the paint colors. It's been a while since I've been through the EA paint schemes and actually like looked at each individual one. Here in this kitchen though, I did kind of like the idea that they had originally where it was separated. I did try once upon a time to do like the outer corner right here. You can kind of see that. And I've never done that, and I also didn't like how it looked, so I did just get rid of it, and then it gave me a little bit more room. I also tried an island at one point and I didn't feel like there was enough space. However, these cabinets that they just gave us, I think for an update or just for in the base game, I absolutely love them. I've been using them so much, and I really like how this layout was. More of the stove on one wall and then you have the fridge on the opposite wall with the sink. I normally don't like my sink really close to appliances, even in The Sims. However, I feel like this was a lot better. It separated it and you still had that space that you could put the table in there, and it wasn't too crowded, but it was just the right amount of crowdiness, if that makes sense. Like, it looked more lived in, and I didn't need to put that much clutter down because I felt like the countertops, there weren't that many countertops, but there wasn't much that needed to go into this because our furniture filled up majority of the space. I did end up adding this hutch and then kind of sized it down. I think I sized it back up to go over on that wall, but I thought that was so cute. I love the little hutches in this game. Most of them are super big, so half the time I feel like I can't use them. And then moving on to the living room, this is where I definitely wanted more of a grandmother would live here. You'd go over to your grandma's house. And at first I really wanted to use that CCTV that I had. And I think I ended up not using it. Like, I think I kept with the TV that you see here. I just think they need to bring back like a more realistic, what do I want to say? Like a standalone TV unit, something like we would have had in the early 2000s, 90s and on back, especially the 60s and stuff. I feel like EA needs to get on it and actually give us good TVs. Like, they've been doing good, but they're more modern TVs. I want a couple older TVs. And then in here, I wasn't sure the color scheme, so you'll see me, I think, change a couple different times. I know I went with this blue, but I don't know if that's my final one. I was just feeling in the moment. I wanted a specific thing, and when it wasn't feeling right in the moment, I felt like I just kept changing it. In this back corner, I did want actually an older style gramophone type thing on a table, but you know what EA has a problem with? Never having tables that actual record players or anything but CC fits on, and I really hate that. I don't know why it was so hard, so I did have to kind of manipulate it and put it on there, and I used another dresser, and it's kind of inside the table, but you know what? It works. It's one of those that it annoyed me and I was done messing with it, and it is what it is. I don't think it looks too bad. It's probably functional, unless if it breaks, and then it's probably not functional because it's not actually on that table. And then same with the flowers, I stopped caring. I just kind of put them on there, even if they were kind of cut in, because it wasn't that big of a deal to me. On this wall, I did want a gallery wall, and I love these little photos. I think they turned out so cute. The ones that they kind of gave us in a gift or a free kit. I like some of the items that EA is slowly giving us. However, I don't know if in the future we're going to continue to get items like that. I've been enjoying some of the items that they have been creating. This little quilt thing I really wanted in my build, and I really wanted it actually on the other side of the TV by that archway, but it just would not fit without being in the way. I did move it all the way over here though, and I think it looked better, but I think it would have looked best by the archway if it didn't block that archway so much. And we had to have phones everywhere. I love a whole landline situation, even nowadays. And then in this bedroom, I felt like we didn't need too much going on. It wasn't necessarily super big having a double bed in here, and I really loved the wallpaper. I did love the red curtains. However, I couldn't find a bed that I really enjoyed or that I felt like matched. But then I seen the green shade in the same curtains, and I felt like I could match a bed to that. So it is a little chaotic because you got the floral wallpaper, but you also have like a floral bedding. But I think it looked really cute. And I also tried out this little lighting trick, I guess you could say, with having ceiling lights or pendant lights. And I sized them down because I felt like they were too big, but instead of having actual lamps on the nightstands. I think this turned out really cute. Like I said, I wasn't going too crazy in here with clutter and stuff because it just wasn't that big of a room, and I felt like it already looked chaotic, so I was trying to keep it very simple. And then we moved into the bathroom, and I was trying to use pieces that I normally don't use. I feel like in The Sims, I'm always gravitating towards more of the modern looking appliances or just bathroom items. I really do not like this toilet, I'm not gonna lie. I love just using the tiny living toilet. I think it just looks the best, but I was struggling and I wanted to match it more to the tub and shower, and I felt like the tub and shower was more realistic to something that you might see in a grandmother's house or a grandfather's house. And also, EA needs to give us more like pedestal or singular sinks because we don't really have many. We have sinks that go into cabinets, but we don't have any that are freestanding like this, that are very realistic to maybe a house build, and I'm getting sick and tired of these. And I almost went to CC, but then I remembered I was trying not to use so much CC. And then finally, we do have this last section, which is just like the front porch area. There's not much happening. I did put a couple different seating areas in here, and then also some wind chimes. And I found a bike that I have no clue where I got it from. I think it actually, when Life and Death was coming out, I think it was like one of those skill events things where you could do certain things, and throughout accomplishing in a certain amount of time, they gave you free little items. So I did put that out here. I have no clue if it's functional or not. And now we get into our before and after. So before, it is very pretty. It's very simple, but at the same time, it's just a little bit bland. I felt like it needed a little bit more color. I think what also helped is I did shoot, I feel like, the befores in the morning light and then the afters in the afternoon light. And I'm sorry about that, but I feel like the color of the house, the color of the chicken coop, and also the barn, I felt like it just popped a little bit more, especially with all the landscaping and greenery that we did. I just feel like it makes it look a lot brighter. We do have this front porch section. Like I said, it was very sad. You had a table and 2 chairs. Otherwise, it was just flowers. I felt like it didn't really have anything going for it. So definitely in the after, it's still a little bit sad because there's room to put more stuff like a grill or other items, but I feel like it's more cleaned up. So there's more room for activity, and I like the color pops and just, I don't know, it's not just the same item. Again, with the chicken coop and also the barn, they were simple. They were brown. The flowers and stuff looked okay. It just looked a little dull, is all I'm gonna say. And then in the next photo, of course, our after, I just feel like the bricks leading into that area and just how bright everything is, it just looks so much better. Now inside the house, I really think is where a lot of our improvement is. First of all, looking at this picture of the cabinets in the kitchen, I do not like their cabinet placements. I do not like the top pieces of these cabinets, and also because they skipped over the window. Just some things going on, and with that stupid smoke detector right above the sink, basically, it's at the same level that you're almost like your chest would be at, if not your face. Like, why not put it small and up and away? I really personally love the after of this kitchen. I love the setup and the layout. However, if you're not a dark wood person, I don't think you're going to like it as much because it's almost a dungeon, and I did take away a lot of the color. I did try something new and used white chairs along with a white table. I'm not a white wood person, so this was a little bit new for me. However, I really do think that it was a good choice instead of keeping with the same dark wood theme. At this angle, you can definitely see the before, and I just just feel like it was missing something. I don't know. It just had all of like the tan, and the red was a good pop of color, but I don't know if the way that they set it up was great. And then we have mine, which doesn't really have much color in the kitchen. I will give it that. I guess that's my fault. However, I really think that the dark wood is very beautiful. Same with the walls. I think the walls turned out really good. Moving on to the living room, this one I felt like is going to be really good because we have a pretty pink, a little bit keeping with that red theme, tiny sad TV, which I'm okay with a tiny sad TV, but I just don't think that one looks good. I wasn't really vibing with the furniture either. I did like the chair, however, the rest of it I didn't really care much about. So of course, in our after, we go more with a green theme. You have a lot more items. It's more personalized and almost more homey and relaxing, except for that massive TV. I still think maybe something from the 60s would have been better, but I think this just looks so much more realistic to if you went over to your grandmother's house. Here's another angle. Again, you just have pink and it's just kind of empty. Not much going on, not much like you lived into a home. It's more of like you just moved into a home, if that makes sense. And then you can see in this angle, that back corner, I did have that quilt rack with the bookcase, and I think that little section looks so cute. And here again is another angle, one last angle of the living room. So going into the bedroom, again, I don't know, the colors were just kind of gloomy in here, and also I just think that I like the wallpaper, but there wasn't much happening. You don't have the best of furniture in here, so definitely in the after we have a lot more color. It's a little chaotic, I'm not gonna lie, but I was branching out. I was doing something I normally don't do, and I feel like I really enjoy it because not always are you going over to somebody's house and everything at every single moment is going to be picture perfect or just match, if that makes sense. Like you could have a really beautiful bed set that you really love, but it doesn't match with your walls, and so you only take photos of your bedroom when you have a different bed set on. You get what I mean? That's kind of how I feel about with this bedroom. It's very like lived in, cozy, but like chaotic in the best of way. And then one more before photo, just what you were working with, a small photo, a stack of books, and a very tiny mirror. And then we have our after, which of course we're keeping with that mirror, and I think that looks so much better anyways. One thing that I really love about The Sims 4, and that I think EA did a really good job on, is when you put standing mirrors or mirrors in general, I love how they reflect, like they actually show like a mirror would. And right now this angle reflecting the bed and the window with a little bit of the curtain in the mirror, I think it just looks so good. And then of course our last room we have to go over is our bathroom. So here's the before, not much going on. You do just have a simple shower, a simple pedestal sink, and also a terrible looking toilet. So then we remodeled it, had a more dark blue vibe in here, and I think it turned out so cute, especially with that shower with a little bit of like gray tile and pink inside there, and then the pink matching robes. And one last angle. Also, I like how now in the after you kind of have your sink blocking your toilet, if that makes sense. Like you're not walking in on somebody using the toilet. And I also like the little chandelier or the light that we used. I feel like it definitely fits the vibe. And there you have it. That is my small 1-bed, 1-bath Cordelia's secret cottage remodel for only $38,000. Plus we remodeled technically the barn and the chicken coop. Hope you guys all enjoyed this video. If you're curious, go ahead and check out any other speed builds I have here on my channel. I have a bunch. I think about 12 other videos for just Sims 4, and I'm very excited to announce that I just posted, I think before this video, a video of me playing a bookshop simulator game, and I loved it. It was absolutely so much fun, and I hope you guys will maybe check that out too. Thank you all again so much for watching, and God bless.